Have you ever walked into a room fully expecting the lights to turn on and nothing happens? You pause, you wave your hands again, still nothing. So you pull out your phone, the app takes a second to load, then another second, and then you see it, device offline. At that exact moment, your smart home doesn't feel smart at all. It feels frustrating, slow, and honestly kind of dumb. Here's the important part though. Most of the time, that frustration isn't because the device itself is bad. It's because of how the smart home was planned or not planned. Smart homes fail quietly at first, and beginners almost always make the same mistakes. Today, I'm going to walk you through the most common smart home mistakes beginners make, why they happen, and how you can avoid them before you waste time and money. Let's dive in. The first mistake is buying devices before choosing a smart home platform. This is the single biggest mistake beginners make, and the reason it's so common is because it feels harmless at the start. Most people begin like this. They see a smart bulb on sale, then a smart plug, then a camera someone recommended, then a thermostat. Each purchase feels small. Each device works when you test it. But slowly, without realizing it, you're building a smart home without a brain. Every device has its own app, needs its own login, and has its own rules. At first, this feels manageable, but as your system grows, everything becomes fragmented. What goes wrong? You end up with 4 or 5 different apps, notifications coming from everywhere, devices that don't communicate with one another, and you have very limited automation, and your smart home becomes a collection of gadgets and not a system. Your lights can't react to motion from the camera, your heating doesn't know whether you're home, automations are basic or completely impossible. You feel like you own smart devices, but your home isn't itself smart. Here's the correct approach. Before buying anything, choose your smart home platform. This is your home's central brain. There are many options to choose from, such as Apple Home, Google Home, Amazon Alexa, or Home Assistant. Once you choose a platform, every device you buy should properly support it. Think of it this way. You wouldn't buy random apps before deciding whether you're using Android or iPhone. The platform comes first. Devices should come second. This one decision alone will save you money, frustration, and future rebuilds. Wi-Fi smart devices are very attractive, especially to beginners. They promise no hub required, quick setup, low upfront cost, and at the beginning, they usually work fine. The problem doesn't appear immediately. It appears when your smart home grows. What actually happens? Wi-Fi was designed for phones, laptops, TVs, and not for dozens of tiny devices that stay connected 24/7. As you add more Wi-Fi smart devices, your router gets overloaded, devices randomly disconnect, automations lag, and the internet performance drops. A common scenario I see happening is that you install 10 to 12 Wi-Fi bulbs, 6 Wi-Fi plugs, and a few Wi-Fi cameras. Suddenly, the lights respond slowly, devices show offline, automations become unreliable, and nothing feels instant anymore. And reliability is everything in a smart home. The better solution is to use protocols designed specifically for smart homes, such as Zigbee, Thread, and Z-Wave. These technologies use very little power, create a mesh network, and they become more reliable as you add more devices. Each powered device strengthens the network. Wi-Fi still has a place for devices like cameras, TVs, speakers, but for light, sensors, switches, Zigbee or Thread will give you speed, reliability, and peace of mind. This is where beginners get excited. They finally understand automation and want everything to react automatically. What's the problem? They design automations that make sense logically, but not humanly. A classic example, turn the living room lights off when no motion is detected for 2 minutes. Sounds smart, right? Until you're watching TV, you're sitting still and the light suddenly turns off, and now you're waving your hands just to keep the lights on. The core issue is this: motion is not presence. People sit still, watch TV, read, or sleep. Motion sensors only see movement and not intentions. Smarter thinking would be, instead of asking what can I automate, ask how do people actually behave here? Is this a quiet room? Do people sit still for long periods, or is this a transitional space or a living space? Better automation design would be to use presence sensors when possible, increase timeouts and combine conditions. For example, only turn lights off if the TV is off, only turn lights off during daylight hours, or only turn lights off if no presence and no sound is detected. Great automations feel invisible. Bad automations constantly remind you that they exist. These mistakes come from excitement. New users try to automate everything: lights, heating, cutting, media, and notifications, all at the same time. For a few days, it feels impressive. Then confusion sets in. What goes wrong? Nothing behaves consistently. Family members don't understand the rules. People stop trusting the system, and once trust is lost, people revert to manual control. Lights are the biggest victims. Some beginners configure lights to turn on with motion, change color at night, turn off automatically, be overridden by voice, or be overridden by an app. Eventually, no one knows why the lights behave the way they do. The home feels unpredictable. The smarter approach is to automate one room at a time. Start with simple, predictable spaces: the hallway, bathroom, or the porch. Set up one basic automation and then live with it. Observe it. Is the timing right? Does it feel annoying? Does it trigger when it shouldn't? Automations are not set and forget. They are more like recipes. You test it, you adjust, and you refine. Once one room works perfectly, then move on to the next. This is how a smart home becomes reliable. One of the biggest mistakes people make in a smart home is removing all physical control and relying entirely on apps or voice assistant. On paper, it sounds futuristic. However, in real life, it's frustrating. Ask yourself a few simple questions. What happens when guests come over and don't know your setup? What happens when your phone is dead or not nearby? What happens if the internet drops, or if someone just wants the light on, like right now? A smart home should never force you to open an app just to do something basic. I learned this the hard way. Recently, I decided to switch from ZHA in Home Assistant to Zigbee to MQTT. That meant moving my USB dongle and repairing devices. The moment I switched, every Zigbee device went unavailable. Different identities, broken automations, nothing talking to anything. If my home depended only on automations, then that would have been chaos. But I still had manual switches for everything. The house stayed usable. The lights still turned on. The room still worked, and life went on. That's the power of manual control. Manual control is your fallback. It's your safety net. When automations fail, and trust me, they will fail, manual control keeps the house livable. Every important function in a smart home should have at least one of these. It should have a physical switch, a smart switch with local control, or a button that works instantly. The goal isn't to replace switches. The goal is to make switches smarter. A good smart home enhances manual control. The lights still turn on instantly, buttons still work even if the network is down. Automations layer on top and they don't block access. If your home only works when everything is online, logged in and responding perfectly, it's not smart, it's fragile. Smart homes collect data. That's unavoidable. What matters is this: where that data goes and who controls it. Many cheap smart devices cut corners to reduce cost. Some common risks are default passwords left unchanged, cloud-only access with no local control, unknown manufacturers with no transparency, and devices that stop working if a server shuts down. This isn't paranoia, it's basic digital hygiene. Simple rules can massively reduce risk. Always change default passwords, secure your Wi-Fi network properly, use separate networks for different devices that connect to the internet and can be controlled digitally if possible. Prefer devices that work locally without the cloud. Avoid unnecessary cloud dependencies. Local control means your lights still work if the internet goes down, your data stays inside your home, your automations are faster and more reliable. Convenience should never come at the cost of privacy or security. A smart home should serve you, not quietly report everything you do. No smart home is perfect. Not mine, not yours, and not anyone's. Devices will disconnect occasionally, need updates, miss a trigger, behave in ways you didn't expect. If you expect perfection, you'll be disappointed quickly. Instead, aim for things that actually matter: more reliability over complex automations, or simplicity over cleverness, and graceful failure instead of total breakdown. A good smart home feels softly. The lights still work manually. Heating still has basic control. Nothing becomes unusable. If your smart home works 80 to 90% of the time, that is not failure, that is success. That remaining 10 to 20%, that is learning, tweaking, and improving. Smart homes aren't products you finish, they are systems you grow into. And once you accept that, building one becomes far more enjoyable and far less stressful. One of the most frustrating smart home mistakes is building automations that can't be overridden. On normal days, automations make life easier. But life isn't always normal. For example, a washing machine that auto turns off during the day to save money, or light nights that stay dim to avoid glare. It sounds great, right? Until you gently need a quick wash during peak hours, or you need full brightness at night, you have a guest staying over, or your routine suddenly changes. Without an override, the smart home becomes stubborn. Good automation should have escape hatches. Override toggle lets you temporarily disable an automation, manually allow exceptions, regain control instantly. For example, a quick wash toggle for the washing machine, a night light override button, a temporary automation pause switch, and a time-limited override that resets automatically. Overrides should be obvious and easy. They should reset automatically after a set time. They should never require editing the automations. Physical buttons are better than app-only toggles. Override turn rigid automations into flexible systems. A smart home shouldn't argue with you. It should listen and step aside when needed. A smart home is never just for one person. It's shared. One of the fastest ways to break trust is forcing automations on everyone else. Common problems people face are lights changing when someone doesn't expect it, heating adjusting intelligently, but feeling uncomfortable, or automations interrupting routines. For example, my wife is in the kitchen, she's cooking dinner, she's standing still, chopping or staring. The motion sensor thinks no one is there. The lights suddenly turn off. To the system, everything is logical. To a human, it's annoying. Moments like that make people stop trusting the system. If your partner, family, or guests don't trust the system, they will avoid it. They will flip switches, they will disable automations, and eventually, the smart home stops being used. Good smart homes respect people. That means automating convenience and not control, keeping behavior predictable, giving everyone an override, and asking, does this help or annoy? The best smart homes fade into the background. If people don't notice it, you've done it right. So there you have it, the most common smart home mistakes beginners make and how to avoid them. Remember, plan before buying, start small, automate thoughtfully, keep things simple. A smart home isn't about showing off gadgets or fancy dashboards. It's about comfort, convenience, and peace of mind. If you build it the right way, your smart home won't demand attention. It will quietly make life easier. If you found this helpful, like the video, subscribe and share it. And tell me in the comments, what was your biggest smart home frustration?